Professor Brain Brown's research shows that vulnerability fosters good emotional and mental health. It is a sign of courage. We become more resilient and brave when we embrace who we truly are and what we are feeling. The Vulnerable Scientist podcast is a space for scientists to tell their honest and authentic stories. I am your host, Sarah Nyakeri, who happens to be a scientist, informal science communicator, and I help scientists create personal websites. If you want to support this show, go to www.patreon.com/thevulnerable-scientist. You can also follow this podcast on all social media platforms at TV Scientist Pod. This is part 2 of Dr. Bill's story, where he tells the story of how he got here, the journey that took him to being a biosafety officer. How did you get here? Tell us the story of how you got here.
I don't know where to start from. I think for me, I'll start from my high school. I don't want to go very far behind.
Okay.
In high school, actually, in high school, I didn't know which course I was supposed to go to undertake in campus or in college.
Okay.
So when I finished my high school, during those times, there were no, getting a parallel course was kind of tough. Or getting admission to a parallel program in Kenyan universities. It was not like straightforward, like you could go and then you are admitted. So you had to apply. So I remember applied to Kenyatta University. My sister was at Kenyatta University during that time. And also applied to JKUAT. So that was in 2006. Yes. So I didn't get a response. So when I didn't get a response and I was not willing to wait, or my father was not willing to wait, so he decided that I go to study in India. So he arranged everything, bought air ticket, and luckily I had some relatives who were studying in India at that time. So they did what? They looked for an admission for me in one of those in colleges in India. Then after 2 weeks I got an admission letter. My father brought the admission letter. So from there I started to look for visa, applied for visa in the Indian embassy. Blah blah blah. It was a very quick process. So I flew all the way to India. So I went to India. Initially, I wanted to do computer science. But after going there, I was like, I think computer science classes during the first year, they have some math classes.
Sorry?
So they have some math classes, mathematics, or some modules in mathematics. So I went there the first week, the second week. I was like, I think this thing is tough for me, I don't think I can be able to do math. Okay, I have to admit I was not very good in mathematics. So the second week, actually, I changed my major. Then I was looking at the college's programs, and then I saw they have biochemistry, biotechnology. So
you're here, you've seen that there are math courses and you wanted to switch.
Yeah, actually that's what made me to switch. Because people are saying, when you're doing these biology courses, there's no math there. So I changed.
Is it really true?
Yes, that's the truth.
Okay.
So I changed. I went to the biotechnology class. So that's how my journey started. There in India, I did a biotechnology course and finished quickly. The good thing with India, there are no strikes. You finish right on time. If it's a 3-4 year program, take it, and then you are done in 3 years.
I find some criticism over there about Kenyan system where we find someone will drag because of the strikes.
Yeah, because of the strikes. Actually, I've heard from many people. So in India, luckily there are no strikes.
Okay.
And I was surprised. I'm like, "Hey, come on, you guys are not protesting. Why? They say, come on, we don't need to." Yeah, so I did my program there, biotechnology. When I finished, it was very fast actually. And then after I finished, I immediately, I thought of coming back home. And then I said, my father was saying, no, I think you're still young. Maybe you can do a master's course. Then I immediately enrolled for a master's course. And then I finished it in 2 years.
So this is all funded, personal funding? Family funded?
It was funded by my parents. My parents. But I used to get... while I was there, I applied for some educational grant from the Kenyan High Commission in New Delhi. I was a student leader, actually, for the Kenya African Students Association. Was it 2 years? I think it was 2 years or something. So I used to get some money from the Kenyan High Commission in New Delhi. They used to send a check every semester towards the fees. I remember it was around, Kenyan money. Indian rupee. I'd say around 20,000 every semester. Yeah, so I used to get, I would say a grant or some, I would call it scholarship. So it really helped. So I stayed there for around 5 years. I said I finished my bachelor's degree. Then I enrolled for my master's in bioinformatics, which I completed in 2 years.
Okay.
So I completed in 2011. Yeah, and I came back to Kenya to the end of 2011, around September there. So when I came back home, those were 5 years I stayed in India. I never came for any holiday. Wow. I was just there for 5 years. I tried to come for holiday. My father was like, oh, no, come on. We don't have money to pay for your air ticket. Just finish and come. 1 week. So I just persevered, worked hard, and I came back home in 2011. So from there, I did what? I came, coming back home, you look for a job. I think that's what most people do. So then there's a friend of mine we were studying with in India, but for him, he came after finishing bachelor's degree only. So he came back, he enrolled at KU, Kenyatta University, for his master's in biotechnology course. So for him, he came in 2009. So by the time I'm coming, he had already started to teach at that time it was called Kenya Polytechnic University College. Okay. So while he was doing his master's program, he was doing a part-time job at the same time. Masters at KU, part-time teaching at Kenya Polytechnic University College, as it was called that time. So when I came, we were still friends. He introduced me to some people in the Kenya Polytechnic University College. So I also started they gave me some few units to teach. So I remember I started by teaching evening programs. There were people who were doing some programs in the evening from 7 to 9 p.m. Okay. Yeah, so that's where I started teaching. And then as time went by, I was given now regular classes, but still on part-time basis. So that was as from 2012 up to 2014, around August. So while part-timing there, there are these scholarship positions which come from the ministry. I think they're normally circulated to all universities in Kenya. Okay. Kindly inform your staff. Whoever is interested can apply. We can recommend. So while part-timing there, I decided to apply. I had actually applied for so many scholarships. I think more than 100. But unfortunately, I never got even one. So I remember there's this day I was... these scholarships from China, they were circulated from the ministry to the university college. Initially, I didn't want to apply. Actually, I was like, I've applied so many. Never been picked. So that day, I remember there's one friend of mine. He was also on a part-time lecturer there. They pushed me, actually. They said, oh, Billy, come on. Just apply. Don't leave it. Just apply. Actually, I prepared the papers. That time I was having some workshop at ILRI. I remember we were being trained on bioinformatics and genomics or something like that. So I prepared the documents in the evening. Then early morning, I passed by Kenya Polytechnic. I gave those application documents to my friend. So he dropped them at the ministry. Obviously, I gave them, and then the administrative staff, the chairman, the dean, they recommended,
Yeah.
So he dropped them at the ministry. Then after 2 weeks, they called us for an interview. We did an interview. Actually, I was number one in the interview.
Wow.
Like to be interviewed, I was the first. I was there at 7 or 7:30. Yeah, I like to keep time, so I was there early. So I did the interview, and then, after the results came out, they gave me the scholarship. So after being given, it was very fast. You're given a scholarship, and then you're told, okay, in 2 weeks, you're leaving. Your air tickets have been bought. I think it's the ministry which was buying those air tickets. So, yeah, it was very fast. So here I was again. I've been in Kenya almost 3 years. Then here I am, gotten a scholarship to go to China. Initially, I was hesitant, but I said, okay, let me go.
Why?
So there I was. I went to China.
Why were you hesitant?
I guess I wanted to be here in Kenya. I would say so. I just wanted to be here, After being abroad for 5 years, then you come home. I wanted to be here. Anyway, I've always wanted to be here in Kenya,
Okay.
I've never loved being out there for so long. So I went to China from 2014. I did my PhD in plant breeding and genetics. Actually, I took 4 years, four and a half, I would say. Yeah, so I came back to the country in 2018. So the PhD was very interesting. I learned so many things in science. I also learned how out there, I think there's always something new you can learn that you can always bring to our country. I'm not saying that our system is bad and their system is better, but that is a developed country. And then there's always so many things you can learn that you can, share with our people here back at home. So there is a lot we can learn from the Chinese. I think, in terms of research. And I would say there is research there employs so many people who are supplying reagents to the lab, those lab assistants, it's so many people are doing masters there, research programs. So I would say it's an employer because there's so many people working on those. You finish your bachelor's degree, your supervisor just directly texts you. They have ready funds to do research.
Wow. So
that was something which was really interesting to me. And I thought if we could have the same here, I think it can be a game changer. We can even be more innovative. But the program was not easy. I remember, when you're doing a breeding and genetics project, there's the planting phase. I remember there's a time I was given seeds, and then, there's a phenotype you expect to see in the field.
Phenotype, you mean?
When you're, by phenotype, I mean the characteristic, when you're given I was working on the rice crop.
Okay.
So I was doing QTL mapping,
What is
you're
that?
given some seeds for QTL mapping, quantitative trait loci. So actually, it's a location in the genome where there's so many genes, yes? So if we want to know which gene, for example, is controlling the height of a plant, and we don't know something very novel, we need to map. We need to do a mapping to be able to know this is the location in the genome which is regulating what?
So mapping, you mean locating where the gene is located in the genome,
yes,
right?
But now we wanted to get a QTL, quantitative trait locus. There are several genes in the QTL, yes? Probably hundreds. It depends how big that location is. We used, I think it's measured in centimorgans. Yeah, centimorgans. The location, So there are normally several genes. So I went to the field. Then, when you're doing QTL mapping, you're given two opposing phenotypes, yes? You're given the short variety and I'm using the example of height.
Okay.
You're given the variety which is short and the one which is tall. So, the approach I'm using, it's not the traditional method. I'm using the BSA-seq, bulk segregant analysis sequencing.
Okay.
BSA-seq. I think if you Google BSA in capital and then -sec, you should be able to read more on that. It's very interesting. So I was given those seeds for the two varieties or the two phenotypes, or extreme phenotypes. Then
extreme characteristics. I want as simple language as possible.
The shortest and the tallest.
Okay.
You understand? Okay, opposite. Let me just say opposite phenotypes.
Yes.
Yeah, so when I went and planted, that was not the phenotype. So I was telling my supervisor, come on, I think you gave me the wrong seeds. He's like, no, I don't think. They're the right seeds. My supervisor was the dean.
Okay.
So you didn't get to interact with him so much. So he has supervisory duties. And again, he's an administrator, So he was kind of busy. So I told him, okay, I need a co-supervisor, I think. So I talked to the co-supervisor. She was like, okay, I think they are the right. I think they're the right materials.